Hello, my name is Max Gibbard. I am owner of TeamLogic IT, Kentwood's technology advisor located on the corner of 52nd and Kalamazoo. Give yourself some credit for investing some time to learn more about cybersecurity. It is an important topic for everyone, whether you are in big business, small business, government agency, or nonprofit organization. Protecting yourself from online harm and protecting your identity from theft is pretty important. I am honored to be able to share some specific ideas about this topic with you and appreciate you listening to this program. We will cover three main ideas. First, I want to share some of the why and where it comes from behind the topic of cybersecurity. We will see some examples and understand how it all happens from the hacker and the one who's hacked perspective. Next, I will share some valuable tips to evaluate communication and online interactions so that you can tell whether the email or website is safe. Third, we will talk about best practices and passwords, what to do, what not to do, and ways to make your password management simpler. At the end, we will share 10 tips for success in managing your cybersecurity risks. So, let's get started. The customers I support have basic needs, the givens for doing business with technology today. First, every organization I interact with wants their stuff to work. They are managing lots of changes and looking for a way to keep things running without loss of time or data. Continuity and change are pretty important. Along with continuity and change, systems have to be available wherever and whenever you need them. And today, we use so many different kinds of devices. Tablets and e-readers, mobile phones, portable computers, desktops and laptops. All of this data and information needs to be usable in all formats. And our business doesn't stop just because it's the end of our day. Demands for doing our work extend to 24 hours per day and 365 days per year. So let's talk about the definition for today's overview. Security is defined as protection of data against loss, theft, and unauthorized access. It isn't enough to just keep yourself safe. It is also important to ensure you protect from theft and loss, leading to unauthorized access to your equipment and technology resources. Interestingly, Accenture conducted a survey of 400 government agencies across 15 countries and determined that these agencies failed to find 37% of all breaches. That fact alone makes our challenge even greater. The bottom line is, we have to take control of what we can control, our own behaviors and actions, staying in tune with what's happening in this space. You might remember the city of Atlanta was victim of a cybersecurity breach in March 2018. After the breach, the city of Atlanta realized that they were not well prepared to deal with this sort of crisis. They sent out a Twitter alert to their constituency. It took them quite a while to recover from this incident. What is even more interesting, the city was warned of potential issues given the condition of their systems and security. They chose not to heed that advice and end up in a very difficult situation. It was costly too. Imagine what weeks without the ability to transact business would do to your operation. The downtime and inability to respond to client demands had a crippling effect. It took over 6 months to recover fully from this incident. Fact is, threats have changed. It used to be a nerd in the basement trying to figure out how to hack into a game or favorite software program. We wanted to see how things work. But today, there are full buildings of hacking operations in places like Russia and China and North Korea. Their sole purpose is to develop cyber attacks, implemented all over the world. It's a costly activity. The feds say that our government has spent more than $25 billion in 2016, and that has grown to over $40 billion in 2018. I've seen numbers even higher than that and expect it to get even more expensive in the future. At least 1 in 100 emails contain some kind of malware or virus. A lot of it is captured by spam filters, but sometimes that rogue agent gets through. It only takes one bad actor to wreak havoc across an organization. Now, let's step into the world of the hacker, the one who is trying to trick you into clicking or engaging with content that will lead to the kinds of cyber breaches we hear about every day. After someone clicks on the link or the bad actors are able to gain access to a system, the infected computer is encrypted with something called ransomware. So, step one is to gain access. Step two is to encrypt or steal certain files that have a high value on the internet black market. The bad actors will demand a ransom, usually with a web currency called Bitcoin. Prices go up every 24 to 72 hours. Essentially, they want you to pay for release of the encrypted data, holding your business hostage until it is resolved. That's the most common scheme. Using a ransomware called CryptoLocker, the bad actors take hold of your computer until you pay the ransom. That's the traditional way of doing things. The nasty way is what you see here, the popcorn method. You get the choice. Either pay the ransom or send a malicious link to two other people. You get your data back and an opportunity to get back at your enemies. The truth is, you flip a coin once. You have a 50-50 chance of being victimized by ransomware. Flip it again and you might have a chance of getting your data back, even if you paid the ransom. So how does it happen? The most common way is through something called phishing. It is pretty easy to disguise an email to look legitimate and worth a click. Other approaches to compromising your credentials include malvertising, where bad advertising is posted on a website. You click on it and it infects your computer or network. Watering holes, another name for a popular site with lots of social traffic and interaction. These become targets for attack where malware is propagated through the site and people on the site. Web attacks. You may have experienced a situation where you end up in the wrong place on the internet and somehow your browser is taken over by pop-up messages or sites you are unable to close. In these cases, it is important to take quick action. Best bet is to unplug the computer, then call the IT department and tell them what happened. Don't try to fix it yourself. Often the time you spend allows time to compromise other systems. The IT department is there to help you resolve these kinds of issues. Now that the attacker has your credentials, they can do lots of bad things with them. Sending spam from a compromised email account, hacking your website content, installing malware, compromising other accounts with the same password, worst case, identity theft. Now, let's talk about the value or cost of these kinds of activities. When a cyber thief gets hold of a record, such as your username or password, your social security number, credit card number, etc., they can sell it in an online marketplace called the dark web. A consumer record is only worth $196, mostly because a credit card is a short-term piece of information. Your credit card number can be changed quickly. Education records. Think transcripts, your student number, grades, financial aid records, etc., are worth more, on the order of $245 per record. When it comes to important financial information, the value of each record goes up, $336 on average. Your stock portfolio, banking records, etc., have much more impact on your financial health and well-being. A healthcare record is worth the most. After all, you can't really change your documented health results. Tests and laboratory work, doctor's notes, and hospital records are very specific to you and your personal experience. For that reason, in 2017, a record was worth $380, even more today. All of this is to say, it is up to us to control what we can control, to keep a watchful eye out and to anticipate the disaster that will happen in the future. Just like you prepare for a natural disaster, it is important to have plans in place in case of a cyber disaster. You should know how long you can operate with your current data, how much data you need and use for core operations, the recovery plan for ensuring you are back up and running in a timely manner. These are the kinds of services we end up offering to our clients. We help them anticipate their RPO and RTO. Recovery point objective, or RPO, is related to how much data you can stand to lose. The more data you need ready access to, the more complex the recovery plan becomes. Recovery time objective, often more important than the data, is the amount of time you can be down before it affects things negatively. These discussions are important, especially before disaster strikes. Next, we are going to take a look at some specific examples similar to what you might have to review and evaluate for your own work. Stop, look, and think. What is the message saying? Does it look familiar? Is it realistic? Is it consistent? In this example, notice that this is sending a message from Global Service GSX. Yet when you look at the email address, it is from a place called upsefrapple.com. At first glance, I would wonder why. Today's business communication is very personal. We know preferences and buying habits, especially the names of people we want to do business with. So when something is addressed to GSX user, this is a red flag in today's world. It's important to get the latest updates now by click the link below. That language is poorly worded. Why is there a link from GSX to apple.com? That doesn't make sense. In most cases, you can hover over the address and see where it is actually taking you. In this case, the website is a set of 4 numbers, an unknown IP address. Within this one email, there are many opportunities to compromise your credentials, simply by clicking on the wrong link or going to the wrong website. We are all guilty of misreading or misunderstanding a message. The same holds true regarding attachments. In this example, Sarah Switzer is apparently sending a purchase order to Walter Kozloff. Before you open the file, right-click and let your antivirus program scan it for threats. That simple act will save you from opening a malicious file that could have negative impact across the network. Another one to Walter Kozloff. This is confusing. When you read this notice, it is referencing an order that you just canceled with Amazon. Note that it's addressed generically, "Dear customer!" As a general rule, businesses shouldn't address you with an exclamation point. Beyond that, you can hover over the order link and you will see it is directing you to VirginiaDemolitionContractors.com, not Amazon.com. Also notice that the order was supposedly placed on June 21st, and yet the email is dated June 20th, an easy oversight. Microsoft has been in the news quite a bit over the last few years. As a result, they have taken steps to avoid sending these kinds of requests. Most of the Microsoft updates of today are done via background processes managed by central IT departments. All of this is to say this kind of communication would likely never be sent in this form. Notice the inconsistencies, the link to a strange website and generic nature of the message. Lots of risk here. LinkedIn can be tricky sometimes. They often embed requests in emails like this. Again, it is important to pay attention to the details. Colleen Baker is the name on the invite, yet the email comes from Buzu Akim. Why is that? The accept button is taking you to a website with a .xyz domain. The subject looks different than normal LinkedIn invitations. Stop, look, think. It's worth taking a pause for these kinds of messages. All of these approaches are the relatively more modern approaches to cyber theft. It used to be that you would accidentally open a spyware or malware Trojan, like a Trojan horse, attached to a link or email and infect the whole network. Antivirus has improved the chances of intercepting these kinds of schemes. However, once they are installed or have invaded your system, they are very difficult to remove. Sometimes you might receive a message with Java updates. It is important to know the origin of these notifications. Notice how the color scheme and logos are slightly different between the two windows. Also note that the update is coming from fixcomputerupdate.com, which is definitely not the originator of a Java update. In fact, Oracle is. The same scenario applies to Adobe updates. Notorious for malware attached to it is a program called Adobe Flash or Shockwave. Be diligent in reviewing these types of requests. For the most part, you are safest to refer any software updates to the help desk. I spoke before about uncontrollable pop-up messages on a website. Here is an example of what that might look like. These web attacks can be difficult to deal with, so if you ever have a situation where you are unable to close a window, or no matter what you do, it pops up more windows of inappropriate content, it is important that you follow these steps. Number 1, do not click anywhere else or attempt to get yourself out of the web page that has hijacked you. Second, stop your work and unplug the computer. This is the easiest way to ensure you are not affecting others in the organization. Third, call the IT department or the help desk for support. They can diagnose any damage that may have been caused and help you get back to productive work. There is no judgment in these situations. In fact, the preference is to call IT for help and let them do what they do best. They are there to help. So now let's move on to our next topic. This is a picture of the Nuclear Alert Operations Center in Hawaii. You may remember a false alarm that happened in early 2018. Essentially, this individual pictured here inadvertently alerted Hawaiian residents of an impending nuclear attack. It was a sort of planned drill that went awry. I want to point out one small thing about this picture. If you notice the small post-it note on the computer here, yep, that's the system password. So many of us print and store our passwords or put them on the bottom of your keyboard or post it on your monitor. It's never a good idea to do this. Passwords are usually a combination of letters and numbers and symbols. There are computer software programs that work on different combinations of letters, numbers, and symbols to try to replicate a password. It would take that program 19 minutes to figure out your password was $$W0RD. It would take about 1 year to figure out COM capital P exclamation point capital UTER. 41 years for yellow tulip. The most secure password is 4 words strung together. Any 4 words will do. And then there's this approach to secure passwords.
A hacker can figure out a simple computer password in no time flat. So we've instituted a new policy. Every password must contain a letter, a number, 25 punctuation marks, and 9 words that rhyme.
Pleasure, treasure, measure, semicolon, hyphen, comma.
We haven't been hacked yet.
So when it comes to protecting your passwords, remember, change default passwords. Do not use the same passwords. Do not write passwords on paper wallets or back of keyboard or edge of monitor, etc. Do use a password manager like 1Password or LastPass or Keychain on your Apple devices. Do use 2-factor authentication. Do not share your passwords with others. At the end of the day, here is the reality we face. The likelihood of security compromise is high. Because of that, it is important to have your own plan in place to follow this 5-step approach. First, identify your assets. Put plans in place to protect your assets. Detect or report incidents. Respond with your plan, and then recover to normal operations. It comes down to each of us individually. We have control over our situation and circumstances we encounter. Only you can prevent cyber attacks. So here are the 10 tips I promised. First, use a strong password, but don't write it down. Second, be cautious with thumb drives, which can carry malware and ransomware. Third, don't open or download attachments, applications, or zip files from unknown senders. Fourth, never click on links embedded in unsolicited emails. Check the source first. Number 5, don't share company data on social media. 6, personal data such as birth date, social security number, passwords, etc. should never be shared in an email. 7th, know the whereabouts of your laptop, tablet, and mobile device at all times. 8. Don't log in to important accounts on public Wi-Fi networks. Number 9. Beware of phishing or spear phishing scams which use familiar information to lure you in. If you are unsure about opening an email or have any questions about cybersecurity, call your IT department. I want you to know I am so grateful for the opportunity to be located in the heart of Kentwood. Thanks for all you do to help our city to grow and thrive, and thanks for taking these steps to protect all of us from harm.